All right, another Tim Cain. Welcome back, YouTube. Everybody say hi to YouTube. Hi, YouTube. Hi, Mom. Playing games as intended, which of course means going and spamming the keyboard and then complaining that you broke something.
Hi, everyone. It's me, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Today I want to talk about playing games as intended. Sorry, I've been watching way too much Food Wishes with Chef John.
Food
I will
wishes?
stop talking like that, I promise. I want to talk about playing games as intended. This came from a question I got, and I answered it, and then I thought, I need to go into more detail. So Abel Anderson asked, Tim, I have a serious question. I just started Kingdom Come Deliverance for the first
Good
time,
game.
and after about an hour of playing, I immediately modded out the inventory weight limit and the limited saves feature. As a developer, do you think I've robbed myself of some of the intended experience that the developer had for me? Have I lost something by doing this? Why do I have a feeling like I don't even want to play the game if saves are limited and inventory weight is very low? Is there something wrong with me as a player?
Okay, as somebody who mods and is a big fan of mods, I can say this. The right way to play the way that gives you the most fun. Simple as that. And if taking something out of the game is the way that gives you the most fun, that's fine. Like, there's nobody who can shit on you, right? If you play Dark Souls and you find it more fun to walk around with a sword that does a million damage and you can't die, fine. Have you robbed yourself of something that the developers intended you to experience? Also, yes. But that doesn't mean that the game is less fun for you because you modded those out, or that it means it would be more fun for you if you didn't mod them out. It's fine. But yes, limited weight capacity as somebody who played Kingdom Come Deliverance, limited weight capacity and the way to save the game is an intended feature to making you think more deeply about what you carry and what you wear at any given time. But if that's not fun to you, go ahead and mod it out. Do what you want to do. As an Elder Scrolls nerd who mods the shit out of their games, I still do a mod free run. No, that's fine. Like, I play modded Minecraft. There are some things, like the digital miner from Mechanism, that make modded Minecraft way too cheaty. I also play vanilla Minecraft. I like them both, but for different reasons.
I want to let you know, I immediately answered and said, first off, there's nothing wrong with you as a player. You should play how you want.
Yep.
That's pretty much the TLDR of this video. But I wanted to make a video with a longer, more nuanced, I haven't said that word in a while, have I? Answer. Because, first of all, I have a video that's called Intent. Every video I mention, I'll link below in the description. But that video is more about how people interpret games versus what the developers intended. Because guess what? You can interpret a game any way you want, but only the developer can tell you what they intended.
Yes.
They're different things. It's
Same with all
weird
art,
that
right?
people think that intent lies with them, the viewer or the player.
Well,
No,
yeah,
interpretation.
it's like reading a book or watching a movie and coming out with a message that the developers didn't intend, or the creators of that art didn't intend, right? If you read Catcher in the Rye and your first instinct is to kill John Lennon, and by the way, that's a real thing, then maybe the fault is with you and not with the writer.
Lies with you. Intent is with the developer. So let's dive into this question of playing games as intended. With keeping in mind that I basically said at the very beginning, just play a game however you want. It's up to you.
Yep.
But let me tell you a story about a friend of mine and a coworker. Because what would be a Tim Cain video without a story?
We like your stories too.
I've known him for, wow, over 20 years, probably close to 30. Anyway, he plays games on easy mode all the time. In fact, if it has an even easier mode, like if it has a story mode, where pretty much you can't die in combat, he'll play it that way. And the reason for this is he doesn't play games to be challenged. He doesn't play a game to be stressed. I know a lot of you love that. You view a video game as a challenge. He doesn't. He likes going through and looking at the game.
That's fine.
He loves level design. He loves art. He likes looking at the vistas that some of these games provide. To a lesser extent, he likes playing through the story. But
It's like digital tourism, which is a real thing, and there are real games that kind of cater to this to these people. Some people really just would rather mod out all of the enemies in Elden Ring or make them non-aggressive and just run around to the different areas and experience that. I mean, that's fine. I think that that's obviously, I think there are some games I like to play because they are challenging, but other times I just want to relax. He likes Windows
these
Vista.
games provide. To a lesser extent, he likes playing through the story.
Yeah,
But really, he's there to see what world did they make. I just want to see
the
it, and
tourism
literally
aspect.
see it. That's what he wants to do. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
And just keep in mind that I know that tourism kind of is like a derogatory term for some people. I just want to clarify. I mean it not non-derogatory. Not like a like a tourist. Oh, they don't really care about the medium. No, it's just more like literally he likes to tour these worlds that are created by amazing artists. And I really enjoy that too. But I like to do both. So if I play like a game like Ghost of Tsushima, beautiful game. I also like the combat and the mechanics, but also just looking at the world and living in it. I mean, Death Stranding 2 to a lot of people looks like a walking sim, but there's a lot of mechanics to it. And also the world is just so fun and beautiful to exist in that that's also part of the experience. But some people don't like that.
Despite the fact that I've heard people tell him he wasn't playing the game right. There is no playing a game
True.
right. If he's playing that game and enjoying it, and he thinks
That's
he
the right
got his
way.
money's
That's the
worth
right way.
for doing it that way, rock on.
Yep.
That is certainly the right way for him to play a game. We could go on and talk about, if a game provides difficulty settings. I have a whole video about that, and there were people who saying, no, you should pick a difficulty and go with it, and other people going, no, 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 no. Let me decide how difficult I want your game to be. I can see both sides of that. Neither one is right.
Yeah, and I think that's the right way to put it. I agree completely with Tim on this. I also am of the belief that difficulty is it's not about right or wrong, but that difficulty can change the way that you approach the game. Who here has played uh Witcher 3 on Death March difficulty? And you'll know that if you play the game on that difficulty, you do have to engage with certain mechanics more, like reading the bestiary to see what enemies are weak to. Maybe you do have to make sure to uh, complete quests more deeply as opposed to just being surface level. And you kind of have to figure out your strategic approach to entering certain fights with things. That's part of the engagement. That's part of the fun for people that play on those harder difficulties. But at the same time, there are some games where the harder difficulty to me, like Elder Scrolls or Fallout, does not make me engage with the mechanics anymore. It's not like I change the way that I fight an enemy in Fallout playing on the hardest difficulty as opposed to playing on the normal difficulty. I just use more ammo. So, it's some games the difficulty is nice because when I engage in systems that I wouldn't otherwise, I enjoy that. But other games, it doesn't feel like it's enjoyable in that way, and therefore I will just turn it on to the normal difficulty, or even lower if it's annoying.
I play with colorblindness settings because it's an accessibility feature. I can't play your game without it. So if you're going to provide them, I'll use them. If you don't provide them, I will assume there's not a single thing in your game that requires color. Because if there
That's
is,
fair.
then you just broke the intent. You intended for anyone to be able to play your game. You didn't provide color blindness settings, but I can't play your game because there's a puzzle that requires color or there's a UI element that uses color. So with that developer providing intent does come a responsibility to the player that your game is playable without those features. For example, the original question mentioned getting rid of the save limit. Look, if a game lets you save anywhere, which all of my games do, then you can choose to save scum, and a lot of people do. Before they pick that lock, they save. Before they go into a combat, they save.
I save scum.
Before they try to sneak past a guard, they save. I'm fine with you playing that way. It's up to you. What do you want to do? So these are all things though that I'm talking about that the developer provided you. So these are as intended. But the original
Well, also too, I mean, when you play Elden Ring, there's no wrong way to play it, right? But the developers intend for you to play it without any mods, right? And that's the default experience. But when a game provides you with difficulty options and other options like turning on Iron Man mode, right? Which you only have one save, and if you die, it deletes your save or whatever, like permadeath of characters. Um, if you're provided with those options, then the right way isn't to have those on or off, it's to choose exactly what you want. And I don't think you should let other people shame you for playing and save scumming. I mean, I notoriously made an overhaul mod for Darkest Dungeon that made the game harder. Or I say more challenging, but to layman, to the gamer, that is kind of interchangeable. And then I also made a tool to help save scum. And that can look like hypocrisy, but ultimately, some people preferred not to do that, and some people preferred to save scum. And that tool helped some people have more enjoyment because they didn't want to lose 4 hours of gameplay having one of their characters that they really like die to something that they felt was out of their control. That's fine. Play it the way that you want, and don't let anybody take that away from you.
The question was about mods, so let's talk about mods.
Okay.
And I've mentioned I like mods. I like the modding community. I have a whole video on mods.
Thanks, Tim.
But as I've mentioned extensively, seemingly to the shock and surprise of many people, the player base out there is not monolithic. People want different features.
Yep. Sometimes
they conflict on features, and this can be anything from, I have videos on fast travel, quest markers, multiple ones on encumbrance. Some people will say, if the game has that feature, I won't play it. Other people are saying, if the game doesn't have that feature, I won't play it. I mean, there are extremes on both sides. So once you accept that, okay, there's no way...
If you serve me a Mexican dish with sour cream, and I can't take the sour cream out easily, I'm probably not going to eat it. Sorry, I don't like sour cream. So, it's the same thing. It's just, you have preferences. I mean, some people will not play Expedition 33 because it has turn-based combat, and they hate turn-based combat. It is what it is. Yeah, I mean, that's what the game heavily relies on. So if you don't like turn-based combat, you probably won't like the game.
You can offer a feature and make every single person in the player base happy. This is where mods come in, because mods let people change your game to be how they want. So rather than try to ship a one-size-fits-all game, which I think is a hopeless thing to try to do, people can just mod it, and then they can get the game they want. Some games aren't moddable, and I have a whole video about the cost of moddability. And basically, it takes developer time to make their game moddable. I talk about all the different ways you can make a game moddable. Some games aren't moddable. As soon as though a developer decides to make their games moddable, then almost by definition, their intent is for you to mod it. So they can't claim, oh, I'm really surprised anybody's modding this game. You made it moddable.
Yeah, I mean, like, what did you expect? It's kind of the same thing. Like, to some degree, I understand why some developer makes a game and says, we really don't want you to mod, I don't know, nudity into it, right? Yeah, but you made the game moddable. What do you expect? I get it. I get your intention of doing that, but you cannot stop this. If you make the game have mod support, people are going, it's Rule 34, okay? If it exists, people are going to make porn out of it.
Mods, especially out there, can be used to fix bugs or make skills and abilities in the game work correctly. In other words, as the developer intended and not how the shipped product had it.
Or rebalance it.
That exists in many of my games. However, modders often change a game's content or restore content that the developer decided to remove, or they change mechanics that they're not sure the majority of people want. These are not what the developer intended. So while a developer may have made their game moddable and intended it to be modded, you can't hold the developer responsible for what an actual patch contains. So yes, to answer OP's question, if you mod your game, you are missing out on what the developer intended. But only you know whether or not that bothers you.
Exactly.
So if you talk about this game with other players, you may find that their experience is fundamentally different than yours. Is that going to bother you?
Well, I mean, even like going back to the previous video, right? If you like we watched the one previous on our YouTube is the realism and whether or not you should add it. If you add like Kingdom Come Deliverance, the Savior Schnapps potion, then you do have to think about, do I have Savior Schnapps to drink here? Should I go buy more? Should I brew some more? And this can change the way that you approach the game. You might want to raise your alchemy higher. You might want to steal some or to save up money to buy some. And this is a way for you to spend money to gain skills, to think about an additional piece of depth before venturing to a difficult location in the game, because you might not have enough Savior Schnapps to do it and to make proper save points, or you only have one, and so you try to get to a good save point where you feel, I'm okay if I have to do this next section again, but I don't want to do the previous section. Save here. Yeah, you rob the game of that. You rob yourself of that experience, but like Tim says, only you get to decide if that will make the game more fun or not as fun for you. Yeah, take care, Codex. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Don't worry, I'm gonna be getting off after this video anyway, so you're not missing much.
Are you going to talk about content that isn't in the base, isn't in the unmodded game, or are you going to have avoided content that wasn't that you should have seen, but the mod lets you avoid? If people talk about how difficult it was to get into some place, but you're like, I modded all locks to be
Yeah,
easy.
right.
You're gonna miss out on some stuff. If you don't care about that, rock on, mod away. But I think some of you are going to be bothered if you mod the game to an extent that you're no longer playing the game that the developer intended you to play.
And that's a good way to put it, and I agree with something that Josh Strife Hayes says. If you guys don't watch him, I highly recommend watching Josh Strife Hayes. He makes a great set of series on YouTube called The Worst MMO of All Time. It's more meant like a look at how an MMO plays and how it evolved and then how it died or something. So it's a really good series. But one thing that he says, just because he's been analyzing games for so long, is you should try to meet a developer halfway. If you go into a game expecting a completely different experience than the one the developers told you would have, then you're not going to have a good time, and you're not even trying to have a good time. At the same point, though, if a developer is so strict about how you play their game that they, maybe bully you or shame people for not playing the game the way that they intended you to play it, the developer isn't meeting the players halfway. So there is a middle ground here where you say, this is what we intend, but have fun, right? And that's the best way to do it. If you're a gamer, just try to go into a game and approach the game in the way that you feel the developers have tried to do. Engage with the systems. Don't ignore half of the weapons just because you don't like them as much as this other weapon. Just try them out, see if it's fun, and you might find that it is. You might find that it isn't your thing. Engage with the systems. Try to learn the game. Engage with the tutorial a bit, because this is how you learn what the game is trying to tell you in the way that it wants you to play. It's a halfway point, right? It's like a marriage.
So my recommendation, of course, would be, why don't you try playing the game one time without mods? Experience what the developer wanted you to experience before you mod it. Now, how far? However long you think it takes you to understand the game. For some of you, that would be doing an entire playthrough. Play the game 20, 30, 40 hours, whatever it takes to do a playthrough without any mods.
Well, yeah, and I think that's fair. I mean, you also don't know what mods you need until you play it, right? If you play Kingdom Come Deliverance and you're 5 hours in and you're like, I hate having to deal with Savior Schnapps, you go ahead, mod it out, right? But if you download the game and you hear about Savior Schnapps, you have to have a potion to save. Let me tell you this right away. Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 and 2 give you so many Savior Schnapps, and it's so easy to make, that you can essentially treat it as if it were a save at any time potion. It's really, really, really fair and easy to get the potion. You don't need to mod it out. Hey, Sandy Sensei. Usually never play with mods? Usually never play with mods. I only play some games. I don't know. It's usually the mods that I play with are there to first time. Usually, first time I play a game, I don't play with mods, right? And if I buy like a new Bethesda game, obviously I'm playing it without mods, right? Because there's no mods for it yet. So, but then 3 years down the line, when there's a good modding community, sure, sure, I'll download some cool mods or some cut content or whatever. I think it's fun. Or usually like cosmetic mods, right? Like remove a HUD element or make the game look a little bit different, something like that. Or a mentality that I have a hard time trusting third-party code from unknown people. That's fair too. That's fair too.
For others of you, you can play for an hour or two and go, okay, I see what they mean. I see how I'm supposed to play this,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to keep playing this unless I mod it. That's fine. Mod away those things that you find frustrating or stressful or confusing, or even mod in challenges if that's the thing you want to do. But I will say that I'm all for you modding a game to change it substantially into a different game, and some mods do that. They dramatically change a game's nature because it's yours to do what you want. But I think you are missing out a little bit if you don't at least see what the developer wanted you to play before you start modding it. And let me do a quick side note here on patches because I've kind of mentioned patches a couple times.
Yeah, okay.
Developer patches are also playing the game as it's intended, even if they add content or even if they change mechanics, because it's coming from the developer.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
this is exactly like the feature of Ashes. I mean, the From Software community is pretty toxic about this as a whole, but they'll tell you that you're cheating at Elden Ring if you use Ashes. Ashes wouldn't have been put in the game if the developers didn't want them in there. And there's a whole lot of content and mechanics surrounding Ashes that you will miss out on if you don't use Ashes, right? And there's a lot of if you're a collector and you like collecting items in the game, you might feel as if Ashes are just not important to you if you're one of those people that thinks that it's cheating to use them. Of course, it's fine if you think that they are cheating and you don't want to use them, and the game will be more challenging if you don't use them. But I don't think you should tell people that it's not the right way to play the game when it is part of the vanilla intended experience to use Ashes of War or to over level your character a bit before trying out a boss again. That's why it's an open world. That's why they allow you to do that. Try the taco before putting hot sauce on the taco. Respect it. Secure enough to taste what they're giving you. Agree. Yeah, I mean, just try it. Like, it's not gonna hurt you if just try it. But don't shame people, like especially other players, for playing the way that they want. If downloading an unlimited money cheat in The Sims and a cheat menu is the way that your girlfriend loves to play The Sims, let her do it, okay? Don't tell her that she has to live as a homeless person and then work her way up to maximum level, I don't know, cop in the game in order to have the right fun. The right way to play the game is the way that works the best for you.
so it's obviously what they intended the game to be. Fan patches, you can consider them a patch if all they do is fix bugs. You know, if they get rid of a crash, if something says it's supposed to be usable 3 times a day, but it's only usable 1 time a day, if they change that, that's a patch.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think a lot of fan patches go farther than that. They add content, even if it's removed content. They add their own content.
Like a
They
rebalance.
extend mechanics. They
Mm-hmm.
change mechanics to be what they would rather have instead. This is not a patch. This is a mod named a patch. And I think you should treat them as mods, at least for the purpose of the advice I'm giving here, which is try playing the game without that fan patch before you patch it.
Agree.
Ultimately, though, I think you should just play the game however you want. These are just my recommendations. And especially don't worry what other people think about how you play your game. Because remember, you are the Kevin James of how you play your games. I'm sorry, I promised I'd stop doing food wishes. Anyway, I hope that answered your question in more detail, Abel Anderson, and I hope the rest of you like it.
There must be a lot of chocolate on this show if Tim is that obsessed with food wishes. No, that was a good video, and I agree. You know, play the game that you the way you want to play it, and if anybody tells you that you're playing it the wrong way, they just ignore them. You know, they're elitists. I'm 100% going to shame people who don't eat the pizza crust. Why would you not eat the pizza crust? That's like Pizza crust is so tasty. Who cares if it has a lot of carbs? Either way, that was a great video. Thank you guys for joining me on that one. And if you're watching on YouTube, I will see you later. Bye bye, YouTube.